Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on This Needs to Be Read. I have a return guest, which is very exciting to me, Mr. David Rubenstein. This time we're going to talk about how to invest matters on the craft. Last time we had him on, he shared a collection of his interviews of the American experiment. So what I was looking forward to getting a chance to interview him again is how he presents his information and repurposing his work, the interviews that he's done, he's sharing them with us, and I love it because I'm interested in investing, and I believe I'm a beginner. I've been interested for years, dabbling for years, so I think I'm still in the beginner category, and this book covers me and others that are more risky. So welcome to the conversation, David. How are you, and welcome back.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for having me back. I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing well as also.
I am. Now, there's three types of investment categories that you share here, and you have the different experts talking about it. So I love the way that's broken down because I feel like I'm eavesdropping, in a sense, on a conversation, and I'm benefiting from the information that's shared there. And you break it down into mainstream, alternative, and cutting edge. So I'd like for you to get into that a little bit and let the reader know what the goal is for them when they pick up how to invest.
Okay, well, I have three types of investment categories. Mainstream means the traditional investment categories, stocks, bonds, and probably real estate. Alternatives is things like hedge funds, private equity funds, venture capital funds, things that are designed to get a higher rate of return than the traditional investments or the mainstream investments, but somewhat riskier. And then cutting edge things are relatively new, somewhat untested, and very controversial in some respects. So like crypto investments, cryptocurrencies, or ESG, or something like SPACs. So that's the categories. What can somebody get out of the book? The book is not designed to make people great investors. You can't read a book on golf and become Tiger Woods. You can't read a book on investments and become Warren Buffett. But it's designed to kind of whet the appetite of average investors about learning more about what they're doing with their money. Because while you're not going to be Warren Buffett by reading this book or any book, you can learn more about what you can do with your money and how to do it prudently and safely, not risk your capital. And there are a lot of advice and tips in there for people who are average people, what they should do with their money.
And one thing that you say before I get into my other questions that's very important about people investing with thinking that this is like, I guess, a winning lottery ticket or a way to just make some quick cash or just thinking money focused. Would you talk with us a bit about that before we get into the rest of our conversation?
I think it's a mistake to think that you could read a book and all of a sudden you're going to be an investment genius, or you've made one good stock investment and you think that's what you're really a great stock investor. Whatever career you have, you presumably put some time into perfecting. If you're a doctor or a dentist or journalist, you put some time into it. Well, to do investments well, you have to put time into it as well. Now, if you don't have the time to do it, you have to pick managers who do have the time to be full-time investment professionals, but picking those professionals takes time, and I try to give some advice about how you pick good investment professionals to make sure your money is managed prudently and it's not going to be lost.
And you talked to us about making sure that you invest what you can afford to and not depend on luck and a couple of other things. But before we get into that, some things that encouraged me as I was reading through the notes for our interview is the traits of great investors. So if you want to know if you would be a good fit for it, I was reading, and the first one is failure. And I was like, oh, yeah, I failed plenty. I think I'm on the right track. But it's encouraging that I've learned a lot through what I didn't achieve that time. And when you say that this person has had career setbacks or major investment losses along the way, I've learned from them. So I think that I'm on the right track there. And a few others. Would you share some of those traits to encourage that this needs to be read audience?
The great investors in our country, and maybe in any country, have these traits in common. They tend to come from blue-collar or lower middle-income families, not wealthy families. They tend to be pretty well educated, pretty good students, have a pretty good facility for math. They have a pretty good ability to read and absorb lots of information, even if it's not directly related to their current investments. They have failed at some point in their career and have readjusted their career. Many people did not start out to be an investor. Many of these people, or in fact most, start out to be something else, and then they kind of work their way into the investment world. It wasn't something they were born with or a desire to do at the beginning. They tend to be able to delegate badly because they tend to like to make the decisions themselves. They like to make the final decisions, and they tend to be willing to share the credit but also take the blame, and they also go against the conventional wisdom. Whatever the conventional wisdom is what they tend to go against, and that's what's made them so good. They've done things that other people told them they couldn't do, and they defied the conventional wisdom.
So if you're listening as you're listening to this interview, and if you identify with this, be encouraged. Because investing can be scary because you don't know. It's an unknown thing until you get better educated. And life is unpredictable, so it's not that someone's out trying to get you. It's up for us to educate ourselves. And you talk about diversifying what we do. So you say diversify, is that among the three categories of investing? Or tell me what you
well, you could do it that way. Look, don't put all your eggs in one basket to use a trite phrase, but diversify by putting money in different assets and different categories, but don't put all your eggs in one basket or with one money manager or with one investment idea. You have to diversify. The most important thing about having money is not losing what you have. So don't take risky investments. If you want to go to gamble in Las Vegas, well, that's a different kind of thing. You might get pleasure from gambling. You're not going to make any money doing that, but maybe it gives you pleasure. Well, you shouldn't be gambling in the investment world. Do things that you think are going to make a reasonable rate of return and have a reasonable expectation of the rate of return. Don't think you're going to get 30% rates of return every year. Getting reasonable rates of return is all you need to do to feel reasonably comfortable.
This sounds doable. This seems like I should have dug in deeper. But then the other part makes me feel encouraged because I know a lot more than I realized. So that's definitely going to get me to go in the direction.
I've no doubt that you're in pretty good shape. I'm sure that you probably are a pretty good investor.
Well, I got this pretty good book that can check me out and let me know if I am, and I'm listening to some experts, yourself included, on what to do and how to make these prudent decisions. And prudent doesn't mean you don't get to do anything. You are empowering yourself to be able to do more with what you have.
Right.
So I always
and make sure you know what you're doing. Read the materials. Get educated. Make sure you know what the fees are. Make sure you get access to the information about what the value of the investments are all the time. You've got to know what you're doing.
And the information is there, and if it's not there, then that's your answer. Wait until you have more information. That's what I read in your notes.
Right.
So I'm grateful. I'm grateful when you put a book together, and I've been sharing with people. I've been sharing my books with people, but not your book. The American Experiment and Now How to Invest are on my bookshelf for me, and you continue to let me into the lives of other people that share their information. So I love it. So continue to share this word with others. Much success with your book tour, and I hope that you get to be a return visitor with your next book. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to This Needs to Be Said. I hope you've gained something from what has been shared. Send me your comments and show ideas through the website at tntbsmedia.com. I'd love to hear from you.